Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. As I promised last week, this week's video will be a review of the second season of Netflix's Witcher. I've already mentioned some of my opinions on the series as a whole on Tumblr, so might be worth following me over there, link in the description. But regardless, I'm going to mention my, the two things I mentioned there right now. First off, this series is no longer based on the books; it's inspired by them. And number two, Lauren Schmidt Hissrich is a jealous bitch. More on that as we go through the video. The TLDW for the review is: if you liked the first season for the story, get ready for something completely different. If you liked the first season for the characters, you will absolutely love this season, for the most part at least. As for specifics, what do I mean when I say that the series is no longer based on the books, it's inspired by them? Well, it's taken, it starts to take inspiration not just from the books, but also somewhat from the video games as well, and it's starting to expand on ideas that I think Dave also presented. Also, concepts that were explored in throughout the saga, particularly even and including in its latter half, become more pronounced quite a bit earlier in in the narrative. This is very much the series really trying to reinvent itself, and make itself different from the books. And I look forward to what it is that they can provide with that, because early signs are mostly positive. I'll describe what I mean by also talking about what the trailer was kind enough to reveal. By the way, I also did a breakdown of the trailer when that came out, so maybe look at that as well if you're interested. I'm gonna start by saying that we spent quite a bit of time at Kaer Morhen, i.e. the Fortress of the Witchers, as the trailer suggested we would. And while we're there, we get to see Ciri training as a witcher. The training she does go through is so far mostly physical, how to use a sword and how to improve her agility. So she doesn't really learn anything about about the various beasts and monsters yet, but it is a good start, and it does make for some interesting viewing. The physical training she does receive is often very demanding and at times brutal, but she does not back away from it. And in fact, she often challenges people who tell her that she should take a break or something like that. She definitely wants to prove herself, and she definitely wants to see her own abilities improve. I very much applaud that development. Not necessarily because it brings the character closer to her book counterpart, but more because it is a development that is based in what her characterization and backstory have shown so far of her, have established, or as in what is already established about her. But also, it shows her proactively going after the things that interest her. So, and whenever a character does that, that's a good sign. We're also told that she is starting to exhibit some sign of magic proficiency, but unfortunately we don't really see it for ourselves. That is one narrative flaw that the series unfortunately copied from the books. Nevertheless, it managed to find a brand new flaw that it could implement. Namely, namely a change in how some of the Witchers treat Ciri. In the books, she was handled. She was treated with generally with some level of indifference by the other Witchers, except when she was training, in which case they were somewhat harsh or somewhat demanding. in this book they do they do the opposite to some extent, as in they try to wean her trying to wean her off her training. But then there are some who are openly bullying her and I said I'm looking forward to there being differences between between the books and the show. However, going from indifference to petty smugness does not an improvement make. So yeah, that makes the time we spent at Kaer Morhen a bit soured. However, there is one element of that entire section of the season that does improve the experience as a whole. Not just when it comes to the stay at Kaer Morhen, but also for the whole season, and that is Vesemir. Vesemir is the oldest Witcher present. I think he is their de facto leader, and he is, if I'm not mistaken, again the one who also trained Geralt. He adds a lot of maturity and refinement, may even say distinction, to pretty much every scene he's in. Now that I've actually mentioned both of them, Geralt and Ciri have a very good relationship that is developing. As in, it's very interesting to behold how they adopt this surrogate family dynamic, and not just at Kaer Morhen, but throughout the entire season. The chemistry between Freya Allan and Henry Cavill absolutely jumps at the viewers. Speaking of the cast and of recurring characters, pretty much all recurring characters from season 1 are for the most part better implemented, I'll say. They the actors already know what their drives and what their interests are, and know how to emphasize them in order to really have them come to life, which is very nice to see. Special credit here has to go to Joey Beatty. His Jaskier evolved from a more immature, opportunistic, happy-go-lucky entertainer into a more mature, very charming, and very entertaining to follow everyman figure who also happens to be an entertainer and a bard. And yeah, I very much liked the time I spent with him as a member of the audience. Much more so than in season 1, when the writing made him I think made him a little bit more obnoxious than the showrunners really intended him to be. Also, his reintroduction in this season is the best reintroduction of all recurring characters, hands down, bar none. I wish I could heap as much praise on Yennefer. However, the show has, or at least this season, has really done her dirty. She is not just the only main character to have regressed, she is the only recurring character to have regressed. And all I can think about when observing and analyzing just what a complete wipe out her storyline for this season is namely, I can't help but think of Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, who has taken on this franchise with a lot of lore, with a lot of detail, and with a very colorful and very eclectic cast of characters, and has been given the opportunity to do whatever she wanted with this franchise. And she decided that she would take the best character in that franchise and make her as docile and non-threatening as possible, thereby taking away most of what made her interesting in the first place. It is for that reason, and you cannot tell me otherwise, that Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich is a jealous bitch. Thankfully, we don't just spend time with Yennefer when we're away from the Kaer Morhen storyline. We also get to know the rest of the magical community a little bit better. We get to learn more about how the inner workings of their associations work, and how they make decisions, and how they relate to the situations and the world around them. Just as the trailer actually said we would, actually. It doesn't make up for what the show did to Yennefer, but it is a welcome addition. I'll say that much. As for the new characters, most of them are either mages, or royals, or royal advisors, and some of them are witchers, as I think I've mentioned. However, most of the other characters, mainly the royals and royal advisors, don't really do much aside from discuss what they should do in case Nilfgaard decides to attack the northern kingdoms. But it is good to know that they're there and that they have their established personalities and characterizations at play. There is, however, one thing that concerns me about their appearances so far. While I have said that the show is doing a concerted job of differentiating itself from the books, there is one flaw I'm afraid that it is copying from the books, and that flaw is the disconnect between the larger background storyline of the war between the Northern Kingdoms and the Nilfgaardian Empire, and the smaller, more personal, more intimate storylines that are woven between Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer. And given that a lot of the concepts that are borrowed from later parts of the saga get used mainly in the smaller storylines, the ones involving Geralt and Ciri, all I can think of is that there is a potential, a likelihood, and maybe even a strong one, that this process will not just this divide will not just be present within the Netflix Witcher. It might even grow wider as the series advances. I hope it's not the case, but it looks like it might be. Overall, while certain aspects of the second season leave me annoyed, scratching my head, or both, plenty of other features of the season have left a positive impression, and others still leave me curious as to where the future of the series will take it. My final rating for The Witcher's second season is a 3 out of 5. The same rating as for season 1, but there is a noticeable improvement. A slight, but noticeable improvement. And that was my review. Thank you very much for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please leave a like and maybe share it wherever you think others will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to add about anything I said, the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when my next video comes out, then please subscribe. Ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.